Welcome to Lesson 8.6, Similar and Congruent Figures. In this lesson we're going to talk about what makes shapes congruent and what makes them similar, because there is a difference between the two. So to start off, we're going to talk about congruent figures. So if I have a congruent figure, I'm going to make a copy of this shape right here. Because I made a copy, I know that this shape is exactly the same size and is exactly the same shape. In order to be congruent, that is what shapes have to be. Same size, same shape. So if you're looking at these figures, we need to determine, are they congruent or are they not? The first thing you have to find are the corresponding sides. So I have to figure out, and this is where colored pencils will really come in handy for you. So if I look at this side of my quadrilateral, I know that it matches up with this side of the other quadrilateral. And I know that it is 1, 2, 3 units long. And this one is 1, 2, 3 units long. I can check my next corresponding sides. Right here and right here. So corresponding sides are sides on the shapes that would match up. So if you were to put them one on top of the other, they would be the sides that match up with each other. So this one is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So far so good. Both of these are quadrilaterals and all of their measurements are the same. We do have to check all of them though. So we have 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. And the last one, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So since both of these shapes are the same and have the same measures, they are congruent. Alright, so we'll try the next one. First we have to find the corresponding sides. Now this side does not correspond with this side. It actually corresponds with the other slant. This shape is just turned. That's why we have to be careful when we find the corresponding sides. So for this one, it is 1, 2, 3. It's about 4 units long. And this one is 1, 2, 3, about 4 units long. Alright, so up here we have the top part of the trapezoid, and here's the top part of the trapezoid. This one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units long, and this one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units long. Now we have the small side and the other small side. 1, 2, 3, 4 units long. 1, 2, 3, 4 units long. And the last one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Because each of the corresponding sides is the same length, these two shapes are congruent. So because this line and this line are 7, this line and this line are 4, 5 and 5, 4 and 4, these shapes are congruent. Alright, so we'll do the same thing again, the congruent sides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So far so good. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so these are also congruent shapes. And the last one, so we have 1, 2, 3. And this side corresponds with the top over here because this is opposite the slant. So the side opposite the slant has to be the corresponding side. 1, 2, 3. So we have 3 and 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. One, two, three, almost 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So because this one is only about 3.5 and this one is 5, we can automatically determine that these shapes are not congruent because all the corresponding sides are not the same length. Alright, so moving right along, I know you have this in your notes, so what I want you to do is I want you to go into your notes, and I'll actually pull those up for you here. And I want you to determine if each of these shapes is congruent or not. I want you to post this answer on Edmodo, right? So you have to tell me. And when you type it onto Edmodo, you can put arrows, and then you can say congruent or not congruent, and then you can say triangles, congruent or not congruent. This is not the end of the lesson though, there's still going to be more for you to post. So you can pause and answer this right now. You might want to put a star or something next to it to remind you that you need to post that onto Edmodo. Alright, so the other thing that I would like you to do is I want you to draw 2 congruent figures on your graph paper, and I will check that when you come into class tomorrow. Okay, so both this page and this page you're doing on your own. So you can turn and go to the next page, which looks like this, and we're going to talk about similar shapes. Alright, so when we talk about similar, similar is different from congruent because if I say that you are wearing something similar to your friend, it could mean that you're both wearing the same color or the same brand. It doesn't necessarily mean you're wearing the exact same thing. So we'll take a look at similar figures. To be similar figures, they're figures that are the same shape, but not the same size. So these are both arrows, but they're not the same sides. They also have to have corresponding sides that are proportional. We talked about corresponding sides. They're the sides that would match up if you put the shapes on top of one another. The corresponding angles also have to be congruent. So it's the same idea, it's the angles that would line up if you put the shapes on top of one another. So with similar figures, it doesn't mean that they just have to be the same shape, they also have to be proportional with their size. So if this is 1 and this is 2, then if this is 1, this has to be 2. If it's not, they're not similar. We'll go over a few examples. If you take a look at this picture, right now it looks like this. So if I take the picture and just make it wider, is it still similar? If you look at the face got wider. In order for it to be similar, it would have also had to get longer. So what happened is, I only made this bottom part longer, I didn't make this part taller. Same idea, I can take this And if I just make it longer, the face got longer, but it did not get wider, so it is not similar. In order to keep the picture similar, I have to do to one side what I do to the other. So if I make this taller, I also have to make it wider. So if you look, I'm going slowly. As it's becoming taller, it's also becoming wider. These two pictures would be considered similar figures. Alright, so I believe that this is an example we're doing on our own. So we first have to find the corresponding parts. So I know that here's a 90-degree angle and here's a 90-degree angle. So this side of the triangle corresponds with this side of the triangle. I also know that this is the base and this is the base. And then we have the slant and the slant. These are corresponding parts. You will be able to use colored pencils on your homework and on your test because I really want you to make sure you're finding the corresponding parts and putting the right numbers into your equations. So in this case, I would still use my colored pencil when I create my proportion. I should have the same colors on top and the same triangle in the same ratio. So if I start by using 10, if I use 10 here, then the number that has to go across from it is the other pink side. The other pink side is 15. Now, with the 10, I have to use a number from the same triangle. So I can use 8 or I can use 6. Because I'm looking for x over here, I know I have to use 6. If I don't, I'm not going to be able to find this answer. So I put the 6 below the 10, and then I put the x below the 15. Now we use cross products to solve. So I know that 10 times x has to be equal to 15 times 6. 15 times 6 gives me 90, so I know that 10 times x has to give me 90. I divide both sides by 10, and I know that x has to be equal to 9. So the length of this side is 9 centimeters. Right, we'll do one more example together, which is this one, and then you'll be responsible for this answer on Edmodo. You'll notice that there are two things that you're looking for. So I'll remind you of that when we get to that problem. Again, we're going to find our corresponding parts. So here and here. Here and here. Here and here. Okay, in this case we're not looking for a missing measurement. Now we're just trying to decide, are they similar or not? We still have to use the same idea though. We still have to set up a ratio or a proportion with our numbers. We have to keep the same colors on top and on bottom and the same numbers from the same triangle in the same ratio. So in this case I'm going to use green first. So the first triangle is 90 millimeters. And the second triangle has 180 millimeters. Then I'm going to use the pink side. Now I have to put the 111 with the 90. If I don't, this will not work out and it will not give me the correct answer. Because the 111 millimeter side corresponds with the 222 millimeter side, I have to use the 222 millimeters here. So now, to determine if these two triangles are similar, I still use cross products. I do 90 times 222, and I set that equal to 180 times 111. If these both come out equal, the triangles are similar. If they do not, the triangles are not similar. So we'll go ahead and we'll use our calculator here. 90 times 222 gives me 19,980, and 180 times 111 gives me 19,980. Okay, so far so good. The other thing that we would want to make sure to do is we'd want to try the other sides as well. So if I look here, I also know that to go from one side to the other, it was times 2. So to go from 90 to 180, I multiplied by 2. To go from 111 to 222, I multiplied by 2. In order to make sure these two sides are similar, I would have to make sure that 100 times 2 is what I have over here. And since 100 times 2 is 200, I know that all of these sides are similar to this triangle. So yes, they are similar. Alright, for this one, I gave you the information here. So I gave you the 6 and the 10, and you have to determine if these two triangles are similar or not. Be careful though, because the corresponding sides aren't as easy to find this time. So on Edmodo, you need to post about the arrows, the triangles, and whether or not they're congruent. And you also need to post about these triangles and whether or not they are similar. Okay, so you can just have yes or no listed for your answers for tonight on Edmodo. As always, if you have any questions, be sure to post them or write them down and ask them tomorrow.